Yeah, I think we're gonna start here. We're a little late. Yeah, that's right. Oh, good. So I know this seems silly that we're using the sound system, but it's for the people online. So if we don't talk through the microphone, then they can't hear us. So thank you everyone for coming. I'm glad that everybody's here. We are kind of a smaller group tonight, but that's okay. We did sell a few more tickets of people, but they're not, we're done waiting. We do have quite a few people online, so that's great. Thank you to all the people on Zoom. And I am Jen Mason at the Colorado Snowsports Museum. And I would, first of all, I just want to thank Erik for coming and making the trip up here. But this is our Through the Lens series, and it's a series of different programming and different things that are snow sports related. And next week we do have there's 300 lynx that live at the top of Vail Pass. So the Division of Wildlife is coming, the Forest Service is coming, and a professor from DU, Rudy Hartman, is coming to explain all of this. And it all had to do with Blue Sky Basin and the expansion. So it's kind of an interesting phenomenon. But I'm so glad that the people that are here, and we have a special guest, Bob Reuters, here. But thank you, Erik, so much for coming. And so I'm just going to go ahead and just start right in with Erik. And so this is Erik Lambert from Bluebird Backcountry. And it's the only new ski resort in the state of Colorado since Silverton. And Silverton was sometime in the 80s, I believe. 2001. Okay, so I stand corrected. Yeah, so 2001. So that's pretty fascinating that Colorado has not had a new ski resort in almost 20 years. And Erik is the reason why we have a new ski resort. So we were we've been hoping to get them to come to be a part of the museum and to be here. So I'm so excited that Erik is here and in the house. So we're super excited. So, and then you said it's kind of interactive a little bit. So we do have some people online. So I am going to be on my phone. I'm not texting my friends. So the people online, please fill in your questions and ask as Erik is asking things, because we'll get the information.
Thank you for having me. Is the mic sounding good? No? Yeah, all right, cool. Thank you, Jen and the museum, for having me. There are literally hundreds of other people who have helped co-create this with us, and I wish they could all be here because we have amazing people. But I will fill in for everybody tonight, and really appreciate you all making time to be here. We're running a grand experiment on what skiing could be if you think a little differently and outside the box. But what we've been over the last 5 years and 2 months has ended up remarkably similar to where what we originally envisioned. And I'll go through a little bit more of that as we go through the slides. But the only way that's been possible has been with volunteers and an amazing staff and just incredible people who are excited and interested in having this experiment. So thank you for being here. So part of my talk is going to be around the foundations of, hey, like, what is Bluebird? I just got like 80 questions from this couple. No, like, it's great. And like, when you start something new that is adjacent to something that already exists, you end up with a lot of questions like, wait, why do you do it that way? Or how does it work? Or wait, how is it even possible you don't have chairlifts, right? So we are fundamentally running this experiment because it is incredibly difficult to get going in the world of backcountry unless you have a mentor. It's a dangerous sport if you don't know how to manage it. And you need to practice it a lot to be safe and to be competent out of bounds. And ultimately we realized like, hey, like that's really important. And also the ways that currently exist to learn this are very difficult. So I'm going to talk a bit about foundationally, who are we, what are we doing, why are we doing it? And I'm going to have photos that help you understand it if you've never been there. Like, has anyone here been to Bluebird before? I know Bob has. Jen has. Okay. Yeah, so a couple of people have, but I figured that there would definitely be folks who have not yet visited. So I'll be able to give you a little taste through the visuals of what it's like. And then at the end, I'm going to ask you, what does the future of skiing look like? And I've got a few hypotheses myself, but I'm biased. And we all have our different biases, and I'm kind of curious what everyone else thinks too. So before we go through that, I want to ask you, how did you personally, I'll just give the mic to a couple people. How did you get into the backcountry? How did you get started, basically? Or what is keeping you from trying backcountry for the first time? I'm going to start with you because you said you haven't done backcountry yet, right? So what has kept you from getting started?
If I have to wear avalanche gear, I'm probably not going there.
Okay, so if I have to wear avalanche gear, I'm probably not going there, meaning you want to stay away from avalanches. Okay, that's a pretty good reason. Does anyone else like not been backcountry skiing who wants to try it?
Well, I've been backcountry skiing in Connecticut when we have a lot of snow, which is very, very different.
Wait a minute, you've been Rabbit Ears Pass?
Well,
about
oh
30
yeah, but
years
how
ago
long
on
ago
cross,
was that?
on cross-country skis.
Yes, that's true. All right, but it's always been cross-country skis. So my interpretation of backcountry is really more like, what do I know about avalanches and what kind of equipment do I have? I've always done this on cross-country skis. So I don't have backcountry skis. Our daughter, on the other hand, does, and she does a lot of backcountry.
So if you didn't hear that, basically a cross-country skier who is familiar with going out of bounds, but doesn't necessarily know exactly what does avalanche terrain look like or have the equipment to know what to do in case of an avalanche. My question to you is, why haven't you made your daughter teach you how to backcountry ski?
Because she's just moved from San Francisco to Connecticut.
It seems like that's in your future. And then someone who has been backcountry skiing, So tell me how you got started.
I guess Meadow Mountain over here near Minturn. Just it's a small, easy hill, not a lot of avalanche danger. So that's how I started. And then I guess I did a hut trip actually last week, and that was through the Gravity House Hotel. And so I had guides, and it was great.
And then did you, when you were skiing at Meadow Mountain, did you just like go for it yourself, or did you have, okay. So you went out and bought equipment or rented equipment and.
Well, so
Okay. But you need to buy the skins and other things. Yeah. All right. Did you have avalanche gear when you're at Meadow Mountain? Okay. No avalanche gear. I've skied there. There's definitely ways you can ski that without having to worry about it. And then one more.
I was lucky enough to grow up here. So we went on a few hut trips when I was in middle school, and they kind of taught us about all the backcountry gear. So now I love it now.
Okay. So was that a guided trip, or is that with friends or? Okay. Yeah. So teachers, I heard guides, and I heard buying your own equipment. So there is a lot going on there. There's a financial barrier to entry. There's an educational barrier to entry, and there's a risk or danger barrier to entry, which is connected to the education, right, and being responsible. So there's just a lot there, and the way we look at it is that skiing is a mentorship model. Backcountry skiing is a mentorship model. Even regular skiing, like imagine showing up here, having never gotten on a chairlift or knowing that you even have to buy a lift ticket. That would be pretty daunting if you didn't have someone who had showed you that, whether it was a parent or a friend or someone like that. So we believe there's a better way, because the current ways to learn are expensive or dangerous, or they're both, or you got lucky, right? And Bluebird is designed to solve that problem, to introduce people to the sport, to do so in a responsible way, but also to provide like a really fun, social, unique place to go that is just less risky. And I'll go through what makes us unique and exactly how the model works, but that's why we do it. The other reason we do it is to share our joy for the backcountry. It's enriched our lives an incredible amount. And that's not something to hold for ourselves. That's something that we believe everyone should experience, or at least be given the opportunity to test the waters. So I'm going to go through really quickly the timeline. What's your name? Deb mentioned our Kickstarter a few years ago. That was like a big turning point in our history. So I'm just going to quickly go through how we got here. So 2017, actually, does anyone recognize where this is? Hint, it's very close to here. Almost. This is just outside the ICYMI hut, which is just north of here, just north of 70. It's the closest 10th Mountain hut to Vail, and it's really good skiing. Yeah. I put this in here because this trip was a month after Jeff, my co-founder, and I came up with the idea and started working on the concept. And I'm sure that on this trip, we had lots of conversations about like what this could become. And the other reason I put it in here is that like we didn't know where to get started. We didn't even know if anyone else was working on a backcountry light ski area. We didn't know if there was enough of a market for this sort of thing. We didn't know where to start. And I got pulled into the project because I'm an outdoor marketer. I've been in the outdoor industry for a long time, but never directly in the ski industry. So there's a lot to learn about the ski industry that I had no idea. So we spent a lot of time the first year learning, researching, and talking with people in the ski industry. And we took people out on their first day and asked them, hey, what were the reasons you got started, or how did you get started? Or what are the barriers that keep you from doing this more? Like, why haven't you already started learning? And that survey data formed the genesis of like the problem that we were solving as a business. After a year of doing that research, we put out a website, and we just put it on our Facebook pages. We didn't put any money behind it or anything. And overnight, we had 900 people fill out the survey just because it went mildly viral. And so we ended up with 2,000 responses to the survey. And overwhelmingly, people were like, that is amazing. I definitely want to do that. Or they said, that's really interesting. I might try it. And then there's definitely some haters in that blue slice. And those are the people who are like, I've already learned how to backcountry ski. Don't let anyone else come try this thing. And we just philosophically believe the opposite. So this told us to keep going. And the other thing that happened with the survey was 80 people said, do you have a job for me? Like, could you give me could I be a rental tech or something? We're like, whoa. We don't have a ski area. This is just an idea. But yeah, sure. We'll put you on a list. And then it turned out that a lot of those people were local and wanted to help. So we did a dinner in Denver and opened it to anyone who had expressed interest. And about 25 people came to that first dinner. And a lot of those people are still volunteering with us 5 years later, which is really cool. This is also the year we started exploring partnerships. This guy on the left, Jeff Crane, formative for our development. He had tried to get something like this going at Mosquito Pass south of Breckenridge, and he ended up getting interested in rehabilitating the old buildings up there. But we teamed up with him to do a cool prototype in 2019. So you can see over on the left here is Mosquito Pass. We did not do well, basically we pitched it as like, hey, intro to backcountry. We're trying to make a friendly, more welcoming and inclusive way to get started, and sold that out very quickly. We did four days at Mosquito Pass, and it was a blast. Like, it was a real pain to get the Forest Service permit, but it was totally worth it, and it gave us a ton more learning, and that's going to be a consistent theme in how we've done everything. This is also the year that we started getting some traction. This is like, we started getting some press and Outside Magazine, et cetera. And this is me and Jeff presenting at a pitch night thing that we had. We won a pitch night and then got to go be a finalist, et cetera. So it's just when people started really noticing the Bluebird idea. The same year, we also partnered with Winter Park. They came to the Mosquito Pass event and loved it. And they're like, we have to do something here at Winter Park. So they let us rent the mountain for $1 after they had closed the Winter Park side, but the Mary Jane side was open. And so they were great partners. Their patrol and everything helped us run our event. And it was the first time that we did rentals on site and our own programming. This had been run by guides. After those went really well, those prototypes, we're like, we need our own mountain. And we talked with actually a number of ski areas to partner with existing ski areas. We figured that would be the fastest way to get the concept going, would be to be adjacent to something that people already know and love. And turned out that's real hard to convince a ski area that another ski area should operate on their Forest Service permit. So the result was that we, actually, Bob, our special guest, is an important part of this story. We did what we called a land sprint for about 14 weeks, where we chased down every piece of private land, every piece of federal land that we thought might work, every piece of state and local land that might work, did the ski area partnership play, and just with that team of 30 or so volunteers, rallied super hard to try to figure out where could we do this. And Bob was instrumental in actually finding our location. So thank you, Bob. So fortunately, through that volunteer network and through Bob, we were able to get access to a parcel that's private between Kremling and Steamboat Springs. It is a very large ranch with two very big mountains, actually 3. And it's right at the edge of Rabbit Ears Pass if you've driven up that way. This is Jeff standing on the top. Everybody says Kremling's flat. I beg to differ. There's a couple thousand feet of vert down to the ground there. And you can see Highway 40 running through there. And then I put this box in for 2022 or 2020 as well, because this is our garage of the house we were renting. And anyway, we had 6 figures worth of rental gear arriving at our garage, and we transported these boots back and forth in our test season every day. And so this is lots of good memories late at night in the garage, mounting bindings with lots of volunteer friends. And that was the year that we did our Kickstarter. So we solved one big crux, which was the land, and we solved another big crux, which was insurance. Like, who's going to give insurance to these random guys who have never operated a ski area? After quite a bit of work, we actually ended up with one of the best ski area insurers. Like, there's two big ones, and so we have amazing insurance, and we're really grateful for that protection, or we may not have even started this at all. Last year was our first full season. You can, for those of you who have not been, you can see what our base area looks like. There's a bunch of weather port structures and solar panels, the snowmobiles for ski patrol, fire pits, a food shack, some areas to hang out. There's a band playing over there, and some people who are about to have a great day out skiing. This is so we moved mountains on the ranch between 2020 and 2021, and that was a really good move. We have 1,200 acres that are incredible. A lot of it's great learning terrain, and then there's a lot of steep terrain, and there's plenty of everything in between. And last year was really like the dream come true. And this year we're just refining it. So we're really focused on the customer experience this year, just making things that were awesome last year even better. Our customer satisfaction ratings are like very, very good. And I encourage you to come and check it out. You will have a good day. And it is in the middle of nowhere. But that is part of what makes it really special. And it's a great place to like have an experience with friends and people of different abilities in a safer environment. So yeah, really putting emphasis into the customer experience. And part of that is new terrain. We opened these steep chutes into the inbounds terrain this winter. I just skied one of them on Sunday. It was really fun. And we also did a ton of glading. We gladed 8 runs over the summer with our volunteer team, as well as like a professional Sawyer crew, to open a bunch of new runs. And there's plenty more where that came from. There's like a lot more opportunity on the mountain. So, this got cut off. Sorry about that. But basically, this is an overview where you can kind of see our parking area, our base area, and then Bear Mountain. The bulk of Bear Mountain is inbounds. And then this zone is cut off a bit, but West Bowl is like a great intermediate and like learning area that is where a lot of our guests like to hang out. And Jen mentioned this, and we were talking about this earlier, there's nowhere in the world that's doing what we're doing, where we have ski patrolled backcountry that is avalanche managed, and that where education is a focus. Lots of places are doing lots of cool things. No one's quite doing this. And we believe it's transformational for the ski industry and for everybody who is either getting into the backcountry, we're really reinventing education, or who just is more risk averse or wants to share an experience with someone who's new to it. So a little bit about the property I mentioned, where we're located. Vail is down here, and Steamboat is here, and we're on the way to Steamboat if you're going from Silverthorne or Crumley. This is a better shot where you can see the base and West Bowl area, as well as Bear Mountain. This is our trail map. It's real fun to invent a trail map. We need a snow area photo. This was taken in like November when we were opening our first full season. And actually, this is kind of fun fact. You can see Whiteley Peak, which is our test area location, in the background there. The property is absolutely stunning. we get about the same, like our base area steak gets about the same amount as the Vail Mid-Mountain steak. It's actually like uncanny how similar they are. So we get a good amount of snow. And the last 2 years that have been our full seasons have been a little grim just because it's been dry everywhere. But we're really excited for the blowout season. It's coming next year. I can feel it. And this is the West Bowl area. This is just phenomenal low angle aspen skiing. Some of the aspens on the property are the biggest caliper aspens I've ever seen. I can't even bear hug them, not even close. And then this is some of the steeper terrain that we opened this year for the first time. This is off the back side of the mountain. And yeah, it gets up to like 45 degrees. So 1,200 inbounds acres, about half of that's really good skiing. So if you need something for comparison, Arapahoe Basin is 1,500 acres. So it's quite a bit of terrain for 200 people a day. We cap it at 200 people. The vertical rise may not seem that exciting at 12,045 or 1,245. But when you're earning your turns, 1,300 feet is plenty. And it's actually a really nice way to lap the mountain multiple times. Like the West Bowl area is 700 feet of gain, and you can get a bunch of laps in over there, or you can go to the bigger peak and do a couple laps, and it's full value. 28 runs, but we're not marking every bowl as like 4 different runs. We have a lot of skiable, fun places to explore. And we have 11 skin tracks, and we maintain those. So volunteers go out and set them in the morning, or ski patrol puts them in, or whatever needs to happen to keep the skin tracks in good shape, so you know where to go and you don't have to break trail. And no chairlifts. These are things that make us different other than not having chairlifts. So like, really, we're trying to do 3 things. We're trying to create this more accessible, easy, welcoming, friendly place. My personal goal is to make it the most friendly, welcoming ski area in the universe. And we do a pretty darn good job of that. And it's just got like a fun grassroots scene to it. We are reimagining backcountry education. What is out there is really wonderful. We are an area provider. Area is based here in Vail, if you did not know. And they are the ones who develop curriculum for avalanche courses. They are great. The coursework is great. The framework they use is great. There is a huge gap between knowing nothing and being ready to take an avalanche course. So we help on-ramp people into an avalanche course, and then we help with training and practice and all the additional skills that you want to keep building as you go. And we think of ourselves as an educational center where no matter what level of experience you have, there's more to learn. Oh, you'll also notice these are kids and a dog. These are things you don't see very often as kids in the backcountry or being able to ski around with your pup. And then the third big category is that we're just trying to make this like really soulful and special and social. And we think about our brand as the past and the future of skiing. This is a new idea, but it's also just a return back to a lot of what you find in this museum. This is another shot of the base, gives you a better sense of what it looks like when it's snowy. This is like if you're inside that big white building here, this is part of what you'll see. This is our rental fleet. It's, if not the biggest in the country for backcountry, it's pretty darn close. My guess is it's the biggest in the country. This is Bob's son, Trent, at the portal. This is unique to us as well, where we check everyone in and out of the mountain. We have 200 guests a day, max-ish. and we make sure everybody is off the hill. And we don't have chairlifts, so we can't sweep like a normal ski area can. That means we make sure you're checking back in. And if somebody has somehow escaped the portal, they get a phone call and we send patrol out to try and find people. Fortunately, we have never had any sort of missing person or anything like that. We mark our skin tracks, not something you'll see out of bounds. It's real. Everybody comments on the ponytail on our signage. We try to make everything as like inclusive and welcoming as we can. Ski patrol for backcountry skiing, right? Like we're backcountry light, inbounds backcountry ski area. We have some of the most veteran patrollers in the country who lead our patrol team. A lot of our patrollers work part-time at Bluebird and then part-time at a place like here or Beaver Creek. We have a really robust educational program. Maybe somebody here knows the answer. I don't know what percent of skier visits at a traditional resort are lessons, but about 35 to 40% of our guests are taking a lesson or an avalanche course or engaging with our Ski with a Mentor program, which is designed to kind of fill in the gaps around direct instruction. We have dogs. We just changed our policy so they're allowed every day. We're testing it just weekdays, and that worked pretty well. So now you can bring your dog any day. We're open 5 days a week. We have a passport program. So this is just designed to make it fun. There's stamps hidden around the mountain. And yeah, if you get enough stamps, you get a free beer in Crumbling. And if you're the first person to finish your passport before anyone else that season, you get a season pass for the next year. Maybe not unique to us, but we feel like we have a pretty special vibe at the base area. And I don't know if anyone else saw this, what was going on yesterday, but there were 300 naked women skiing all at the same time. Yeah, it was like a private event. They rented out the mountain. Yeah, I'm not sure that's happening here at Vail. And then this is just fun. Like we just try to make it as fun as we can. We get to make the rules, right? So this is just an impromptu grill. One of our employees was like, I'm just going to go up and cook burgers on the skin track. We allow camping in the parking lot. It's not for everybody. It's real cold, but about 10% of people who ski at Bluebird are camping in our lot, and they love it. And it's just a fun little sub community of folks who are willing to brave it. This is just another camping photo. Okay. So I've got my predictions, but I want to hear all your predictions first. Maybe we could ask folks who are in the Zoom if they've got any predictions about what the future of the ski industry looks like or the future of skiing. But before, while we're waiting for that, I just want to say that I think everybody here is kind of the future of skiing. You all are excited to be here. Like, you're excited to learn, and you're I think we have probably a pretty good variety of Patagonia colors represented here, etc. So the world is changing. That mentorship's really difficult when people are so busy and technology is so pervasive. So part of what we're doing is making mentorship scalable, something that can be done really well, not one-to-one, but one-to-many. And that's been incredibly rewarding. And this project just generally is really fun and rewarding. But let's like make a few predictions. I don't have a crystal ball, but I've learned a few things, and I'm sure you all have ideas too. So yeah, do you have anyone from online?
So far, the dots are kind of perfect.
You tell me, I can just.
It's not really a prediction. So it says, do you see Bluebird Backcountry offshoots eventually being accepted into already existing ski areas?
Okay, so the question is,
That's a prediction.
yeah, I guess a question / prediction. Like, do you see Bluebird actually, like something like Bluebird, working its way into existing ski areas? Yes, I do. Right. We're building something that is working and that people love, and it is pretty nichey, right? Like, we're serving a very specific slice of skiers who are already a pretty specific slice of the population. We wanted to start Bluebird at an existing ski area because we thought it'd be easier to do that. Ski areas have been slow to adopt uphilling policies. They're starting to do that, especially with COVID. That accelerated everything. Ski areas have been slow to adopt like backcountry programs or guided programs where you go out of the gate, out of the side of the ski area. But those have existed for a long time in specific locations, and there's definitely a demand for learning and building up backcountry skills. And I think over time, ski areas will pick that up, and whether we collaborate with them directly on that in some sort of programming way, which would be really cool, or whether they just try to build their own. I do see that happening. Bolton Valley in Vermont, we're just talking about the East Coast. They just opened a really cool backcountry program with backcountry rentals, instruction. They have kids programming, and I expect to see more of that. Who else? Oh yeah.
And this is like the complete opposite way, but is like the Yellowstone clubs of the world. Like, I feel like there's going to be more and more like private powder. It's just becoming more and more elite. And so, which is why something like because you can do it anywhere if you have the equipment, the backcountry experience. But I do feel like that's kind of where it's going, is these more and more private ski areas, kind of like country clubs.
Yeah, that is happening in the ski industry generally. And then I could see it happening with backcountry skiing. There is a project in British Columbia called Zinction Project, where they're trying to do that. I think there's going to be maybe a couple of lifts, but then the idea is that it's more of a backcountry type of zone, and doing all the things that the ski area developers do, which is sell real estate and things like that. That's not going away, and I think that makes sense. Like, as things are getting busier, there's going to be a desire to not only run towards powder, but run away from crowds. And that's something that was the first like mega learning that we had in our survey. Does anyone here have a prediction? Oh, come on. Somebody has to have a prediction. It doesn't have to be right. or an epiphany. Okay, I'll. Okay. Yep. So I wasn't going to say it here in Vail, but if you're going to say it, I'm all for it. Yeah. So the skiing experience is getting homogenized. It's getting expensive. or it's been expensive, and it's getting only more expensive to come for a day. As the world moves more toward inclusivity and trying to make things a little more equitable, the ski areas are not really on that path. And we take a lot of pride in doing things the way that we do it.
Can you hear me? Here's a prediction. Yeah, my wife and I have been skiing for 50 years together. And some women, my wife and I have been skiing together for 50 years together here at Vail and other places in the East Coast and the West Coast. But some of the best skiing I've ever done has been out of bounds. And I've always had a mentor or someone to take me out there. And there are certain places in Vail that I'd like to go to, like Mushroom Bowl and places like that, that I can't find somebody to take me to. But yeah, in Europe, we've skied out of bounds with avalanche gear and so forth. We've been very, very fortunate that nothing happened, although I've been in an avalanche inbounds. But yeah, some of the most spectacular skiing has been out of bounds, although we love inbounds at Vail as well.
Yeah, so out of bounds skiing is really good, and if you've done it, you know that that's true. It requires practice to know how to ski that stuff, and that's part of what's kind of unexpected for Bluebird as well. Is like we kind of expected everyone who was tired of skiing all the double blacks in the resorts to be interested in checking out backcountry if they hadn't already. That's not true at all. We have people who literally have never skied or snowboarded ever in their life learning at Bluebird. It's not common. We don't recommend it because skiing off piste is a little more challenging, but some people just want to start there. They don't even want to bother with a big parking garage or a shuttle or a gondola. So yeah, absolutely. People are in search of that. And as it gets more crowded, people will get creative in how they get there. And we hope to be part of the solution and creating a responsible set of people who know what they're doing, not only to travel wisely themselves and keep themselves safer, but to also know how to be responsible stewards of the land, how to rescue someone if they see an avalanche somewhere else, know what to do or not do to keep other people around them safer.
I just don't want to, hi, the people online. So here's what he said. He's saying, I think there will be a large growth of backcountry skiing, split boarding. Resorts are overcrowded, hard to get to, and expensive. Obviously, they will always have their place. And I personally will continue by an Icon or an Epic Pass. But there is a simplicity about backcountry, and I think it's becoming more and more attractive to people, especially people in Denver. I think Avi Danger and the very physical nature of backcountry skiing, I see something between Bluebird and Vail becoming more of the norm, which is kind of interesting because here you are, that's why I was like, welcome. I didn't realize you were coming from Denver, but I was like, coming to the big city because I thought he was coming from Bluebird. I was like, it's so crowded here. We're in the middle of Beaver, and then it's so quiet where you are. So I think that there'll be something in between.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's exactly that's what we've been trying to build, is something in between, because it's very stark, right? Either you're inbounds and it's crowded, and it's a mega resort, often in Colorado, or it's out of bounds and it's dangerous and there's not any amenities there. There's not even bathrooms. So something in between is really appealing for a lot of people. Something that is comfortable, but still has a slice of adventure to it. Yeah, so the question is, how long does it take to go uphill? So in West Bowl, yeah, if somebody's brand new to it, it would take about an hour to go the mile and a quarter and go up 700 vertical feet. So you still do multiple laps if your legs are up for it. And something that's nice about Bluebird is that we're high enough to get good snow. We are low enough that you're not huffing and puffing. The top of Bear Mountain's just under 10,000 feet. Base area is at 86.
The only advantage of COVID that I found was that our daughter, who was living in San Francisco at the time and had to go quarantine, and she quarantined up at Tahoe. And of course, the mountains were all closed. She started backcountry skiing, and she's been a backcountry skier ever since. And she loves it. And with her dog.
Yes, more dogs. Any other predictions? And then I'll do some Q&A after as well. Snowboard only, like a ski area that's snowboard only. I could totally see that happening. Yeah, actually, this is an amazing segue. New models will emerge. Yeah, I mean, I could totally see there being a snowboard only resort. I feel like I heard whispers about something like that a couple years ago. I'm biased, but entrepreneurs are going to make these things happen more than the ski areas are. Ski areas have their model. They do a good business. It's very difficult to break out of the mold of like how you already see your revenue line items. And somebody who's, I don't know, like people in this crowd, like, or me, like, are going to try to figure it out a different way. And they're going to like innovate from the ground up. That's my prediction. And yeah, I think you come up with 100 ideas of something that's new and different. And I think adventure people are ready for something different. To your point of having a monolithic way that we think about ski resorts. Yeah, I mean, this bump run here versus a bump run in Tahoe, kind of different, but kind of the same. There's other new ways to think about the world. And this museum is a great example. I was in the back room with the snowboard history and just like looking at some of the old things that people got started for snowboarding was really cool to see. I didn't know that history. And, you know, what's the next snowboard, right? Like there's ski bikes and other things, but yeah, there could be an entirely new industry just waiting to be born. And then this was mentioned as well. Inbounds and out of bounds experiences will overlap more, not less. It is very stark black and white, like I mentioned. Ski areas will adopt some backcountry and uphilling policies and experiences, and they're trying to kind of get in on the craze. But really what I would say to ski areas who are trying to do that is it's not about the bottom line, it's about creating an amazing experience, and that will lead to your bottom line, right? Like just putting an uphill policy in place is really different than creating a great experience for your guests. Climate change, things are happening. Things are getting different and weirder and warmer. And this is a really generic statement, but it's just a good reminder that we need to be personally responsible and responsible as a society for taking action on this, but also that like it's already happening and there's places that are drying out, that are closing because they don't have snow. So no matter what happens, this is going to change the face of like where we recreate and how we recreate. This is, the other ones were, I think, like, I'm pretty confident on. I don't know about this one, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say, like, in 5 years, backcountry education is going to be totally different. I hope that we are leading that effort. Like, that's my aspiration, is to reinvent the early life cycle part of the education, because it's broken. there's a lot of intro courses, but the guide services run or ski areas run, but they're often not really customer centric. They're often not really designed to welcome somebody who's like only been in the city. And that is a shame because this is something that we want to share. And this is the best one. So this is me the other day at Bluebird, and it was really fun. I've probably skied West Pole 150 times in the last 2 years, 3 years, and it is still fun every time. And no matter what the future skiing looks like, we're going to be doing it because it's amazing. So yeah, I'm happy to take questions from the online folks or from the room. I tried to cover what we do, but it's a new model, so there's always a lot of questions around this stuff, and I am excited to educate folks on what we're doing or why we're doing it, or to talk about some of these predictions. Here. So let me give him the mic.
Yeah, I'd been on the ranch many times, and so it's the first cousin. Oh, and you know, I had not wandered around on it like on Watley and Bear, but I'd been on it since they've owned it for 20 years or whatever. But so.
Tell them your connection to Vail.
What?
Tell everybody your connection to Vail. Your connection to this here.
Yeah. Well, we'll pick on that one first. We'll pick on that one first. What is Reuters Ridge?
Oh yeah. So it's just out of sight. I could probably pull up a photo of it, but like this is Bob Reuter, his son is Trent Reuter, and as we were wandering around the property, Trent's like, what if we go over there? And turns out that's the best run on the mountain is over there. And so we named that Reuters Ridge, but there's also a
on the as we look at the mountain, Vail Mountain, the far left run on Vail Mountain on Gold Peak is called Reuters Run, and it's named for my father. Yeah.
Intergenerational
It was fun when they named that run that.
Yeah, it's really special. And you know, Trent's really proud of his family's history here in Vail, and I'm sure you are too. And is also one of our star volunteers and has been just really great. Oh yeah, well, it's not a lift ticket. Funny story, the Steamboat pilot, the newspaper up there, like did a big story and they're like, Bluebird lift tickets now on sale. I need to find that one and frame it. Yeah, day pass is $45 to $59 depending on what day of the week you're there. We're open Wednesday to Monday. If you show up, we will let you ski. We're not at a point where we're like running out of space every day. There are days where we're a little over 200, and if that keeps happening, we'll manage that better. We do have a reservation system and recommend that if you're renting gear or you're taking a lesson, like we need to plan for those things, so that helps us. But yeah, you can reserve a day pass online. People who buy 4 packs and 10 packs do not need to reserve, and people who have season passes can come whenever. Oh yeah, I can't believe I didn't mention that. So one other thing that makes Bluebird really special is that, well, first of all, not very many skiers are on private land, and on this particular parcel, there's a conservation easement that guides how the land is used. So it can never be like developed. And, you know, both myself and Jeff, my co-founder, and our whole team are pretty darn conservation minded. So we actually love this, and we love that they let us do this, because the land trust that manages it didn't have to say yes to this, but they believe in recreation and humans experiencing these special places in lightweight ways. And our way is borderline, but like very much in line with conservation values. So the ranch is a working ranch, cattle in the spring and summer, guided hunting in the fall, and then bluebird in the winter. And we abide by everything that's in the conservation easement, meaning we don't have any permanent structures. So those buildings you saw, we put those up in the fall, we take them down in April, and there is absolutely no way you could ever tell we have a ski area here if you weren't here in the winter. There's no sign of it. We take every sign down. There's literally no trace that we were there. Bob.
I know there's about 600 elk that live on the north side of the ranch. Do you ever see them in the winter?
No, yeah. And one of the reasons that the conservation or the land trust allows us to do this is that there's minimal migrating wildlife or anything through that corridor at the time that we're there. So there's a resident moose. He's never given us too much trouble. And there's snowshoe hares. But beyond that, there's not a ton of like active wildlife in the winter. Yeah, good question. I didn't talk a lot about kind of what our policies are. So part of what we hope to do as an educational center is create good habits. So what the question was, can you ski solo? And the answer is yes. And that is the only bad habit, quote unquote, that we permit. Where our ski patrol manages the ski area to the same level of safety that you would expect at any ski area. And so you can confidently go and ski stuff alone. We do require beacon shovel probe right now because it is a good habit. We are considering removing that, as like Silverton does the same thing, even when it's unguided, and they have patrol and they require it. So we felt like that was a good, responsible thing to do. We're considering removing that because you shouldn't need it. There's also quite a bit of acreage outside of the boundary area where we do avalanche courses, guided tours, stretching all the way to Whately. We have not gone down there this year, but we can if we want. So there's some opportunities in the future. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. I have my business card if anyone wants it. And then for folks online, my email address is here. If you want to email me, I'm happy to respond. This is a busy time of year, so give me a couple of days. But yeah, I'm happy to stay for a little bit afterward, and just really appreciate you all coming out. And this is really fun.
Thank you all. It was a small group, but I think it was great. And yeah, it's a really interesting concept. Like, where are we going? So appreciate everyone online. And for those of you, for your friends and family who didn't get to watch it, we will record it and it'll be available on our website in a couple of days. So you can let Leah know. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I started backcountry skiing 20 years ago so I could take my dog with me. It's all about the dog. So yeah. And then now, 3 dogs later, they're still coming. So it's great. Guy's been with us. Yeah, me and my dog. So it's just fun, but it's interesting. Even the places around here, the local places are getting busier and busier. Like Meadow Mountain was a place that you could go and you would see maybe 3 people. And now you go and it's getting really crowded, but it's fine. There's other places. I'm not going to say where I go. So thank you so much for being here. And yeah, and thank you for taking the risk and taking the chance and doing what you're doing. So I am going to, so I think this is it. This is the end of our presentation. So thank you to everyone.